In a move that has sent shockwaves through both the media and political worlds, Paramount Global, the parent company of CBS News, has agreed to pay a staggering $16 million as part of a legal settlement. This payment comes as the result of a lawsuit brought by former President Donald Trump, who alleged that the network's coverage crossed legal lines and damaged his reputation. The $16 million is earmarked specifically for Trump's future presidential library, a detail that has drawn both criticism and curiosity from political observers. The settlement brings to a close a contentious legal battle that not only questioned the boundaries of journalistic integrity, but also highlighted the complex relationship between major media corporations and the powerful figures they cover. In addition to the multi-million-dollar payment, Paramount has agreed to cover all of Trump's legal fees, a sum that could add millions more to the total cost. Despite the payout, the company has made no admission of wrongdoing, nor has it issued any public apology, maintaining its stance that its reporting was within journalistic standards. Many industry analysts and insiders see the settlement not as an admission of journalistic failure, but as a pragmatic business decision designed to avoid a lengthy and potentially damaging court battle. For Paramount, the move may have been about protecting its brand and shareholders, rather than conceding any fault. The lawsuit itself was filed in a Texas court, presided over by a judge appointed by Trump during his presidency. This detail has fueled speculation that the legal strategy was carefully calculated to maximize Trump's chances of success and to put additional pressure on Paramount to settle. For the media industry at large, the settlement serves as a stark reminder of the high financial and reputational costs that can come with challenging, powerful political figures. It has sparked debate among journalists and executives about the risks of investigative reporting in today's polarized climate. Ultimately, this case sets a precedent that could influence how news organizations approach coverage of politicians for years to come, raising important questions about press freedom, accountability, and the future of investigative journalism in America. The legal drama that would soon grip the nation began with what seemed like a routine CBS 60 Minutes interview. But this was no ordinary broadcast. The episode, which aired in the fall of 2024, quickly became the center of a heated national debate. The interview featured Vice President Kamala Harris, who was asked a series of pointed questions about the ongoing Gaza conflict. Her responses were closely watched, as tensions in the Middle East were at a boiling point and every word from the White House was under a microscope. The controversy erupted over how CBS edited Harris's answer for two separate broadcasts. For Face the Nation, producers selected one segment of her response, while for 60 Minutes, they chose a different portion from the same continuous answer. This practice, while common in television, suddenly became a flashpoint. Editors and producers working under tight deadlines often make these choices to fit time constraints or to highlight different aspects of an interview. But in this case, the decision to use different clips for each show was seized upon by political opponents. The Trump campaign quickly accused CBS of intentionally distorting the vice president's words, claiming the edits were designed to mislead viewers and manipulate public opinion. They argued that this was not just a simple editorial decision, but a deliberate act of media bias. However, when the full transcripts of Harris's interview were released, media analysts and legal experts pointed out that the edits were standard industry practice. The transcript showed that nothing was taken out of context or altered in a misleading way. Despite this, critics remained unconvinced. They argued that by crafting two slightly different narratives for two major programs, CBS had crossed an ethical line, and their actions only fueled the growing lawsuit and public outrage. The case quickly escalated, putting the network's routine editorial decisions under an intense and unprecedented legal spotlight. Suddenly, the inner workings of television newsrooms were being scrutinized in federal court. What had always been considered normal editing practices were now at the heart of a federal case, raising questions about journalistic integrity, transparency, and the power of the media in shaping political narratives. This controversy revealed just how easily technical decisions in news production can be weaponized in the political arena, turning everyday editorial choices into battlegrounds for trust, truth, and democracy itself. Trump's legal team escalated the dispute, accusing Paramount and CBS of election interference and malicious news distortion. The lawsuit painted CBS as a political actor, not an independent newsroom. Legal experts doubted the case's merit, citing First Amendment protections. But the real power of the lawsuit was in generating headlines and pressuring Paramount. Trump's lawyers demanded raw footage and transcripts, seeking to control the narrative. The case became a public trial of CBS's integrity, regardless of its legal outcome. The aggressive legal strategy was a warning. Critical coverage would be met with costly, damaging lawsuits. It was less about justice, more about intimidating the media. The dispute escalated when the Federal Communications Commission, led by Trump appointee Brendan Carr, intervened. Acting on a conservative group's complaint, the FCC demanded CBS release unedited interview footage and transcripts. CBS complied, and the FCC posted the materials online, exposing internal editorial processes. The FCC cited concerns over news distortion, echoing Trump's lawsuit. The agency's involvement raised the stakes, as Paramount's broadcast licenses depended on FCC approval. The threat of violation could jeopardize Paramount's ability to operate 27 local stations. The FCC's move transformed a lawsuit into an existential business threat. Critics called the investigation politically motivated, using obscure rules to target CBS. The pressure made settlement far more attractive for Paramount. The lawsuit and FCC probe coincided with Paramount's high-stakes merger talks with Skydance Media. The deal required FCC approval, giving the agency leverage over Paramount's future. Any regulatory delay could have derailed the multi-billion-dollar merger. Facing a public fight with the president and an active FCC investigation, Paramount saw settlement as a strategic cost. The $16 million payment was a calculated move to protect the merger and shareholder value. It highlighted the conflict between journalistic principles and corporate interests. Inside CBS News, the settlement decision sparked fierce opposition. Top leaders, including 60 Minutes executive producer Bill Owens and CBS News chief Wendy McMahon, urged the company to fight in court. They argued settling would undermine journalistic independence and embolden future attacks. Paramount's board prioritized the Skydance deal, overruling the newsroom. Owens and McMahon resigned in protest, making a public stand for press freedom. Their departures sent shockwaves through CBS and the journalism community. The resignations symbolized the internal struggle between business imperatives and editorial integrity. It was a stark reminder that the fight for journalistic freedom often happens within media companies themselves. Trump used his platform to intensify pressure on CBS, calling for license revocation and even the cancellation of 60 Minutes. His public attacks turned a legal dispute into a PR crisis for Paramount, especially during the Skydance merger talks. As settlement talks progressed, Trump's tone shifted. He began to praise the Skydance deal and its CEO, signaling satisfaction as his demands were met. The change in rhetoric suggested a transactional approach. Once Paramount paid and the FCC intervened, the pressure campaign eased. The sequence revealed a clear cause and effect, aggressive tactics to force a favorable outcome. Once achieved, Trump's public criticism faded, clearing the way for Paramount's business deal. The affair underscored the power of political leverage over corporate decisions. Paramount's recent settlement is just one example in a growing pattern. Major media and tech companies are now routinely paying out large sums to resolve high-profile disputes with Donald Trump. These settlements, often negotiated behind closed doors, reflect a new reality for the industry. The cost of peace can be measured in millions of dollars, and the stakes are higher than ever before. Disney, for instance, agreed to pay $15 million to settle a lawsuit after one of its anchors made a misstatement about Trump on air. The company weighed the risks of a drawn-out legal battle and the potential for damaging headlines, ultimately deciding that a financial settlement was the safer path. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, faced its own legal challenge after removing Trump from its platform. To resolve the suit, Meta paid $25 million, a sum that underscores just how costly these disputes have become for tech giants navigating the intersection of politics and business. X, formerly known as Twitter, reportedly paid $10 million to settle a separate lawsuit brought by Trump. Each of these cases highlights the immense pressure companies face to avoid the unpredictability of courtrooms and the glare of public scrutiny. In every instance, these corporations chose to settle rather than risk years of litigation, mounting legal fees, and the possibility of even greater financial or reputational damage. Settlements offer a way to control the narrative and move forward. For Donald Trump, lawsuits have become more than just legal battles. They are strategic tools for generating revenue and exerting influence over some of the world's most powerful corporations. Each case brings attention, leverage, and often a substantial payout. For the companies involved, these multi-million-dollar payments are increasingly seen as a necessary cost of doing business in a deeply polarized era. Legal settlements are now factored into budgets, much like insurance or regulatory compliance. Settlements are not just about money. They are calculated moves to avoid negative publicity, protect brand reputation, and safeguard larger business interests. In a world where public perception can shift overnight, companies are more willing than ever to pay for certainty and stability. This transactional approach, where legal disputes are resolved with a check rather than a verdict, is quickly becoming the norm in the ongoing tug-of-war between corporations and political figures. As the landscape evolves, the true cost of peace continues to rise. The Paramount settlement is a case study in the collision of news, politics, and business. It shows how journalistic independence can be compromised when corporate interests are threatened. The $16 million payment sends a chilling message. Political pressure can override newsroom principles. The case offers a playbook for politicians. Litigation and regulatory threats can force media giants to the table. The risk is a more cautious, self-censoring press, and a public less informed about those in power. For corporations, it's a lesson in risk management. Sometimes, paying up protects bigger assets. Ultimately, the public loses when the free press is weakened by financial and political pressure.